a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor!
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade.
Ha-ho, hey, Carrie, welcome to all of our friends and relatives from all four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is producer Haley Cherry. This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI, in Minneapolis, and we're so thankful for their partnership and all of the positive work they're doing. And wow, what a treat. We have one of our weekly guests as our host today, guest hosting for Robert Pilot, the president and CEO of NACDI himself, Robert Lilligren. Pinikrigi, thank you so much, Robert, for joining me today and for bringing along a couple great guests.
Yeah, Chimigwech Haley, thanks for asking me. Thanks for supporting me in doing this guest host. Huge thanks to the Native Roots Radio and I'm Awake for having me on so regularly, and to Robert Pilot, who is off doing important things in the world tonight. And so I'm honored to try to fill his moccasins here. So, Buju Nene, hello, my relatives. It's great to be here. And Haley, thanks for your kind words. And you're always so supportive of our work. And we do have a couple of great guests coming up. The first one will be one of NACDI's newest employees, I think probably the newest. They are communications coordinator. It's M. Matson. And they'll be talking to us about their involvement in the community and the role at NACDI. And also, we have a very old friend and super community member, Carrie Aspinwall, who will be joining us to talk about the work that she does as an independent contractor, but also she has been deeply involved in the community for her entire life. And she will have lots of interesting things to say. So I'm very excited to get into welcoming our guests at this time. And so first up would be M. Matson, and I will let them introduce themselves, but I would just suffice it to say that M has been with our organization just a short time. They are filling an incredibly important role as communications coordinator, and they come to us with deep and rich experience in the community. So welcome, M. Thanks for being here.
Chimigwech, Anin Kinawe, hi, my relatives. I am Matson. I'm Sault Ste. Marie Ojibwe, and I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for saying yes.
So yeah, I'm new to NACDI, but really enjoying the work so far.
Great. It's great having you around. You're just a great positive presence within the organization. And I don't know, maybe you could just spend a few minutes talking about your background. I know you've been very engaged in a number of causes and organizations throughout the Native community. So enlighten us, please.
Yeah, I think a lot of people know me, especially from working with the Two-Spirit Society. I got involved with them, years and years and years ago. Back when I was still trying to figure out what my identity was, and found it was just a really welcoming community. And since have been trying to work to help other people feel that welcome energy, We recently, in the past couple of years, have put on the Two-Spirit Powwow, which I kind of fell into, as I do with a lot of my projects. And I've really enjoyed creating like a safe space and creating a space where community members feel like they can ask questions and be a part of a community that they might not have a whole lot of knowledge about. I love working in that space, and I try to be kind of a connector of people and resources. So.
Great. And I know you were involved in the Two-Spirit Powwow, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So helped
What
put
was your
that
role
on.
there? Yeah.
Well, the first year, it was me and a few other coordinators. It just kind of happened. Showed up to a couple meetings and kept showing up.
Mm.
And the second year, I tried to take a little bit more of a backseat role. I did still end up coordinating a lot, but my kind of baby of that year was working on a Two-Spirit zine. So I compiled
Right.
a lot of art and poetry, beadwork, to a zine to provide to attendees and even folks who didn't end up being able to make it to the event. And we also use that as an opportunity to answer some people's questions, both for folks in the LGBT community whom were trying to support us as Indigenous folks in their community, and to Indigenous folks who are less familiar with people in the LGBT community. We found that the Two-Spirit Powwow is a really good space for learning and connection from kind of a lot of communities, which has been really fun.
Yeah, Chimigwich for that work. And I did attend the Two Spirit powwow this summer, and it was a great crowd. I was really impressed.
Yes, even though we had to be inside because of the weather, people still stuck around. It was really fun.
Yeah, yeah, good work. And I love what you said, Em, about you showed up and you just kept showing up. And with your level of activism, I'm sure you've heard the saying, the world is run by those who show up, right? And so sometimes that's just as all it takes. And that's kind
Yes.
of how I got into my sort of activism in public life too, was just kind of showing up and taking up space, and then figuring things out and building a network, and
Yeah.
just I've had the benefit of looking at your resume as you were applying for your position at NACDI, and it's so impressive
Oh,
and
wow.
so
Thank you.
broad. Yeah, you're welcome. And I wonder if you want to just talk about some of your other experiences in the community.
Yeah. So after I realized the corporate world wasn't for me, I've
Mm,
worked at a couple different nonprofits. I worked in North Minneapolis for a little bit at the Weber Camden Neighborhood Organization, which was really fun. Um, just getting to do a lot of on the ground stuff, working with people very similar to our community, the Indigenous community, just trying
sure.
to work with one another to share the resources available. And after that, I worked with natives, or North
Hmm.
American traditional Indigenous food systems, and the Indigenous Food Lab, uh, and got to really spend a lot of time in the food sovereignty space, which I love spending time talking about Indigenous food sovereignty. It
Hmm.
is so crucial, and it is just so blossoming right now, growing,
Hmm.
if we're playing with puns. But
Budding.
budding, any number.
Right.
But it's really fun to be surrounded by a lot of passionate folks in that industry as well, or in that area.
Yeah, I do love that space, the food sovereignty space. It's a space that NACDI works in as well through our Four
Yes.
Sisters food
Yeah.
sovereignty initiatives, our farmers market, our farm. Now, still have lots of opportunity to support that work at NACDI as well. And so looking forward to
Yes.
seeing what happens there. And I wonder, if you want to just talk about your role at NACDI and what your hopes and aspirations are. And so folks know NACDI is an asset-based community development intermediary here in Minneapolis. We're on the American Indian Cultural Corridor. We help Native people realize the future that we envision for ourselves, and we've needed this communication support that Emma's is bringing us. And so, yeah, if you'd like to talk a little about your work and what you hope to accomplish while you're at NACDI, please.
Yeah. One thing I really love about NACDI is the variety of programming and connections. So my work is largely communicating and connections for events, resources, partner organizations. One really large part of my role is creating a resource directory of
Mhm.
Indigenous owned, Indigenous serving organizations, something that's physical and digital, so
Mhm.
that our community knows where they can get resources, businesses that they can, go visit and support, just sort of have as a central hub, because there are so many really awesome organizations and businesses that I don't think a whole lot of people know how to get access to. So I'm really excited to start
Right.
working on that.
I am thrilled that you're with us to work on that. We had printed a resource guide about 10 years ago. People loved it. I think this next iteration might be web-based, app-based, like you're talking about. But there is so much interest in the community, and we're so glad you're here. So welcome, Em, and I look forward to seeing all the amazing things you do while you're at NACDI.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank
Well, that
you.
was great. It was great to learn more about you, Em, and we got to take a quick short break here, but you are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and stay with us.
Hey, if you're like a lot of people, you're probably relieved that the holiday celebrations are over. But there's one thing that might stay with us from the holidays besides all those gifts, and that's COVID-19. Numbers from COVID are going up as we spend more time inside. And Native Americans are seeing even bigger case spikes. With all the indoor celebrations over the holidays, you may have unknowingly been exposed to someone with COVID-19. That's why it's important to stay vigilant. If you notice any symptoms like a fever, a tickle in the throat, or heavy fatigue, take an at-home test. They're still free and can be ordered at sayyeshometest.org. If you do test positive, you're eligible for free treatment, and no health insurance is required. Visit health.state.mn.us to connect with providers and receive your treatment. Let's make 2024 the healthiest year ever, securing a brighter future for our Native community.
Hi, I'm Claudia with MinSure, Minnesota's official health insurance marketplace. With MinSure, you can compare health plans from multiple companies and get free help from a trusted expert. Whatever health plan you choose with MinSure, it's guaranteed to cover essential benefits, so you can get the care you need. See if you qualify for discounts, available only through MinSure. If you need quality, comprehensive health insurance, get started now at minsure.org.
Anine, I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI, in Minneapolis.
Yeah, bonjour, Ninoganadek, hello, my relatives. Haley, thanks for helping us here, and thanks for inviting me in to guest host. I'm filling in. This is Robert Lilligren, citizen of the White Earth Ojibwe Nation. I am filling in for Robert Pilot, who's up doing some of this important stuff in the community and in the world. So I'm honored to be here, and I will do my best to fill Robert's considerably huge moccasins here. And we have two guests with us today. The first is Matson, who's here. She's the communications coordinator for the Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI. Coming up after this is Carrie Aspinwall, a very well-known person within the community whose work is long and deep on behalf of our people. So we'll be talking with her next, and we're getting to know Em here, which is just really nice. And I'm still getting to know Em. She's only worked at NACDI a very short time. And we heard a little about Em's past experiences in the community and what they envision their role to be at NACDI. And now maybe we can talk about how Em's journey and how they got here. And, you know, communications is such an interesting field, a varied field.
Yeah.
At NACDI, we recently started what we call our storytelling team. And this has really galvanized our work and our ability to tell our work to the broader world and also the work within the community. And Em's going to play a key role in doing that. So yeah, Em, welcome. Thanks again for being here. And tell us how you got here, how you got where you are in the communications world, please.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think everyone's journey is a little bit differently. I've always kind of been a storyteller, someone who likes to focus on that. I also write in my free time or as contract work. And I've just found communications to be such a really expansive field. When we talk about what I want to do at NACDI. I've brought up a couple times that I would love to move into mentoring someone, young Indigenous people, or honestly, anyone of any age in communications, because I found it opens so many doors. You can really find yourself in any field. Everyone needs communications. And while I think my education was incredibly helpful for practicing a lot of writing styles and being able to have a lot of mentors in that way, I think any education level, anyone of any experience can jump into this field. And so I would really love to just see more folks, if they're not sure what direction they want to go, just consider it, because I mean, most teenagers understand the Instagram algorithm better than me of 10 years of doing this, just
Sure.
by nature. So I think there's a lot of ways for people to develop skills and jump into this field.
I just love your attitude here, Em, and your interest in transferring your skills and experience to other folks, mentoring and engaging them. And it's so much baked into the NACDI model, right? This transference of knowledge, transference of skill, capacity building. So I know you will have ample opportunity while you're at NACDI to do that mentoring. And as Em knows, and Haley knows to a point because she's familiar with our work, but we really emphasize capacity building at NACDI at the individual level, even within our own staff, but at the community level as well. And I look forward to sort of building programs out of your interest in mentorship, because I've always felt that in our community, we would benefit if each and every community member could be a spokesperson for the community. And we've done some trainings to get folks sort of camera ready and things so they can participate in interviews. We help facilitate media into the community and things. And I really see a role for you in that.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where did you get your communications degree? Is that what you got your degree in?
I got my degree from Iowa State, and I got it in advertising and English. When I had first graduated, I thought I wanted to be in the ad world, doing all that stuff, and thought about it for a long time. And it is such a competitive and cutthroat environment, and I am not that kind of person. But luckily, the training I got just works really well with a lot of different types of communication styles that aren't just focused on, being in the advertising world, but rather just a variety of, there's so many different ways that we talk, whether it's on the radio or in a news article or via Facebook,
Yeah, I completely agree too. And I just want to jump in and say I have a communications degree from the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, and I didn't know what I wanted to do either. I wanted to do sports broadcasting. I filmed a lot of hockey and basketball games for the Golden Gophers. And, here I am on the radio. And, there's just so many opportunities when you get a communications degree. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a liberal arts school and it's one of the easiest degrees. It's actually really hard because there's so much to learn and there's a lot of ways to communicate and a lot of things that a lot of outlets to do so.
Yes. And it's so transferable too. It really is the kind of knowledge that you can find yourself in any position and find it useful.
I love that. I love that approach. Haley, great questions and comments. And I didn't know that about your background, Haley. So good to know. And right now we're in such a great era of narrative change, right? Where Native people are taking control of our narratives. The rest of the world seems to be listening a little more than maybe they have in past decades. And so people like you, Haley, like you, Em, are young people, young professionals are so critical in that narrative change work. So miigwech for the work that you're doing. And then, and Em, I just wanted to I know you do writing. You talked about your zine.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about enjoying writing. Do you want to talk a little more about some of your writing projects that you're either doing or
Sure.
have done or maybe interested in?
Yeah, a lot of my writing, we're about to get a little nerdy, is in the tabletop role-playing game space. If you're familiar
Does
with
sound kind of nerdy, but it
Yep.
does.
If you're familiar with like Dungeons and Dragons,
Oh, sure.
I like to describe it as group storytelling.
Great.
There's a lot of really cool, interesting ways beyond just Dungeons and Dragons. One I worked on was called Coyote and Crow. It's an entirely indigenous role-playing game where you can sit down and tell stories together in this world where Native people are the focus, and Native thought and storytelling is crucial, and it works a little bit differently in that way. And I just find the space really fun because I think telling stories, joking together, exploring concepts in like new ways is so exciting, and it's a great way to bring people together, especially in a day and age where it's easy to just kind of isolate yourself. I find that it's a really creative industry, and I'm really excited about all the new diverse ways of telling stories that are starting to come out of it.
Very cool. Very cool. And do you write fiction as well? Poetry, things like that?
I do. I write poetry a little bit. I've submitted a couple poems to a few things. And then I also do like contract work with, blogs or online articles, that sort of stuff as well. Fiction, I haven't, put anything out there. I muddle in it, but we'll see if anything comes to fruition with that.
Well, you're young. There's plenty of time yet. So, and also just so folks know about NACDI, Native American Community Development Institute. Part of our motto is we try to support these incredibly talented young Native professionals in other aspects of their life as well. So really just about everyone who works at NACDI has other things that they do. Some are professional musicians, some are professional panel speakers, but everyone has something else going on in their lives, and we support them to do that work as well, because then it makes them more well-rounded community members and workers at NACDI.
That has been one of my favorite parts about joining NACDI is the team is full of really smart, talented, and very kind individuals. So I felt very welcome and very impressed by the work everyone does.
Oh, good to hear. That's so affirming. Thanks, Em. And one of the things that we were just talking about today is how much musical talent we have in our staff. So we're thinking we might have to form a band. And we actually do have professional musicians on our staff as well. But it sounds like everyone just about has some kind of musical talent.
Yeah, we'll have to do a talent show sometime. Open mic night.
I would love that. I would love that. I think it would be really interesting. So, what has been so at NACDI? I know, Haley, you've been into our offices, and we all kind of work in this one big space. It's very communal, very collaborative. So, Emma, I was just going to ask you, what has been your biggest surprise coming to NACDI?
I think in regards to the space, like you were talking, it is truly a hub of, the cultural corridor. I run into people almost every day that I know. And it's really fun to be able to catch up right when you're getting your morning coffee or have folks come in and chit chat during our meetings. It's really fun.
Great. Yep, our office is right off Powwow Grounds Coffee Shop, a real community hub. So thanks for joining us, Em. It's been fascinating. Next, we'll be talking to Carrie de Aspinwall, who has a lot to talk about, I'm sure. And so this is Robert Lilligren filling in for Robert Pilot.
Yes, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio Network presents I'm Awake. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
As we age, it's important to invest in our health and to help protect it. Like the flu, COVID-19 is always changing. That's why it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines. By getting the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, you can renew your body's defenses and lower the risk of getting sick. Get your health boost and protect yourself against the flu and COVID-19. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a go-to card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Unveil the captivating world of native photography at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. Their new exhibit, In Our Hands, Native Photography 1890 to Now, turns the camera around and puts native photographers in control, featuring hundreds of photographs captured by generations of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and Native Americans. You'll view the world through their lens, revealing the beauty and complexity of Indigenous heritage. Don't miss this incredible experience. Visit In Our Hands at the Minneapolis Institute of Art now through January 14th. For more info, visit artsmia.org.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 23, then a chance of snow Friday afternoon with a high of 33. Break out of that post-holiday funk with a delicious meal at an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant, or cook something at home with an Eat Local Minnesota food purveyor. See the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors at eatlocalminnesota.com.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1 U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Yeah, Bonjour in Canada. Hello, my relatives. I'm Robert Lilligren. I'm the president and CEO of the Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI. I have the honor of filling in for Robert Pilot today as the guest host. Huge thanks, Chimigwich, to Haley for all of her supporting getting us here, and Chimigwich to M. Matson. She was an incredible guest during the first half of the show, and I'm just getting to know her as a coworker, and I'm so impressed. And one of the things I love about my work at NACDI is that I get to spend time with these incredibly bright, talented, young Native professionals who are all going places. And I always make it a point during people's onboarding at NACDI to talk about their last days at NACDI too. And this is part of their journey, and my goal is that when they leave NACDI, they feel better prepared and supported to move on to their next roles in the world. And so it's always a thrill. And on the second half of the program, we have another thrilling guest and a very long-term friend of mine. Like me, she identifies as an urban Indian here in the Twin Cities metro area. She grew up right here in South Minneapolis, around the Little Earth community. I've known Carrie for decades, and I've known her in a number of roles that she's served within the community, supporting our people and communities beyond just the Native community. But her work in the Native community, I think, is always a little special, broad. She's been very integral in the constitutional drafting movement here in Minnesota. Maybe she can talk a little about that as well. We've worked together in a number of ways and in a number of capacities and on a number of projects. So it is my huge honor and thrill to introduce to you Carrie de Aspinwall. Bonjour, Carrie.
Bonjour. Good evening, my relatives. Thank you for such a nice intro. I do love you. The work that we've done and the journey that we've been on, it just takes the strength of our relationships to get all of us down this path. And it's been quite a journey. It really has.
It has.
So, yeah,
it's been decades, maybe probably 30 years, something like that.
So, bonjour, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. And Amik Ejanikas, Beaver is my Anishinaabe name given to me by my grandfather, John Sam of the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. I'm an enrolled citizen of Gagaskwa-Jamaikug, which is the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. So, but I have resided in and around Gabikog, Minneapolis. I'm a one-word warrior, so you got to bear with me. That's I'm sticking to that. I'm a one-word warrior, and I'm learning my language. So the city of Minneapolis, growing up right in the Phillips neighborhood, as Robert said, in and around the Little Earth neighborhood, all those folks over there are my relatives, my sisters, my brothers, my cousins, all of it. My dad, when he needed to come and find me, when I finally needed to go home, because I wouldn't have to go home at Little Earth.
Right.
I'd just go from house to house to house and do this homework, do it all. And then all of a sudden you could hear everybody going, Carrie, your dad's here. And you could see my dad's red truck going around Little Earth, come look for me. So yeah, we've been in the neighborhood all my life.
I love it. And
I've served my community all my life.
yes, you have. And for folks who might not be from Minnesota or Minneapolis, Little Earth is Little Earth of United Tribes. It's a very unique community, urban community. It's a HUD project-based Section 8 housing development that gives Native preference right here in the city. So consequently, maybe 98, 99% of the residents there are Native. And it's really the hub of our Native community, and it's what gives the whole area around the American Indian Cultural Corridor, it's a sustained Native identity. It's that strong residential presence.
Oh, completely. And again, it's 893 places, apartments, places to live there. 893. I think we got 39 different tribes that are represented there. And so again, I've committed myself, my life, my energy, my family, everything to the betterment of our people.
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So Carrie, I know you have an independent consultant business now, and we've even partnered on several projects through that. But through the years, you played so many roles in the community. I think when I first met you, you were working for the city of Minneapolis.
I was,
Yeah, under the federally funded Weed and Seed project, the idea to weed out bad things, crime, and to seed in good things. And I was and that was probably 25 years ago or more.
Oh,
and I was so impressed with you. And so I don't know if you want to just talk a little about your journey or maybe some of the different roles that you've played.
Well, like I said, my dad, he put me right in the truck with him, and we would go up and down Franklin Avenue. And I think, I know for sure in my heart and in my spirit that the things that I was learning while sitting next to my dad, traveling up and down Franklin Avenue, was what made me what I am today. The commitment that I have to our people and to making sure that we take care of one another. That was one thing at that time. Franklin Avenue was dotted with bars and liquor stores. And my dad would drive up and down and he'd say, "There's that family right there from Leech Lake. That's the dad. We need to go pick him up and get him some coffee." And he would take people to the Chef Cafe, get the coffee. And I'm sitting there, little girl, watching my dad get these people, shag them off the street and get them back to their homes. We used to have wives come to our back door. "Joe hasn't been home for a couple of days. Hank, will you please go check and see if he's down there?" And so sure enough, Dad would pack me up again and we'd go down there. Christmas, Thanksgiving, all of that. My dad worked for a union, truck drivers union. He actually worked for Jimmy Hoffa for a time.
Oh, wow.
Brought him to Leech Lake, took him fishing and hunting up on Leech Lake. But Jimmy really liked my dad, and he let my dad take we used to deliver Christmas boxes and Thanksgiving boxes to all the Indians in all over the place. I mean, we worked with Holy Rosary. And so again, that whole giving, taking care of, and philanthropic vein definitely came from my dad. So I've served my community my entire career. I graduated from high school early, age 17. It was too easy. I went to South High and sat in the back because that's where all my friends were. But then the work was done. And so I'm leaning over visiting, and pretty soon I had to get moved to the front of the class because too much visiting. And I just thought, this is too easy. So I graduated a whole year before my class walked.
Yeah.
And
Good for you.
Yeah. My dad took me right over to Francis Fairbanks at the Indian Center.
Well, that's where I was just going to go with this.
Yeah.
So folks listening in other places, Franklin Avenue, East Franklin Avenue, is what we call the American Indian Cultural Corridor. It's a geography here in Minneapolis that's very strongly identified with Native people. And it's kind of a rare thing to see in an American city, to have a real sector that's considered Native, and that's where Katie grew up, that's where Carrie grew up, and then I was just going to bring up the American Indian Center, which is right there on the Cultural Corridor, going through an amazing transformation, huge investment right now. It's going to reopen in May. Can't wait. And there was a legendary elder and founder of the American Indian Center, Francis Fairbanks, who, of course, we've lost, and she's an ancestor now. But I know that you found your way there, and that Francis really took you in hand and got you engaged in civic affairs.
Francis was instrumental in my life quite a bit. And like I said, Dad walked me right up there, and he said, "This girl can talk on the phone and she can type on the machines like that." He said, "Put her to work." He said, "She'll work hard and she'll do good for you." And so I did. At age 17, I went in there. I couldn't get into college at that time because you had to be 18. And I was going to go to St. Cloud State, and I couldn't go. My applications and everything were sitting there waiting for that next year to get me done and over there. But yeah, so I went to work for Franny, and in that, the rest of the aunties came in. Shirley Stone, I remember her. And there was 4 or 5 others that mentored me, and they said, "You know what? You're going to go downtown. You're going to go underneath the clock."
That's City Hall here in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and at that time, going underneath the clock wasn't so good because that's where the jail was.
Right.
And
still is.
It is. And so, but they put me uptown, and they said, "You go over there and you learn everything. We're going to support you. You go over there and you learn everything, and you bring it home over here and you tell us what they say." And I did. I was infamous for having my pen or my pencil and my pad, taking down notes, copious notes, to bring back to those ladies, because I did have to report back. I mean, they were really adamant about knowing things and how did they react, what's the process. And so again, this opportunity to do the federal weed and seed program out of the Department of Justice was just a natural opportunity during the time, because again, we were as Indian people, we were trying to understand the inside of the clock, if you would, processes, policies, and all of that. And so weed and seed came up. You don't know how much grief I got about weed and seed. I mean, Carrie Day from the Phillips neighborhood, they're like, she's going to do what? Weed and what? You know, kind of, it's a big joke for a really long time. But after the concept got going, the community embraced it, and we enjoyed so much benefit from that program.
It was huge.
It was huge. It was well-resourced.
That was during my time as a Minneapolis City Council member. You were a great partner, and the community benefits so much when people like you can walk in both worlds, right? The community world and the sort of government world as well. So you bring so much value to the community. So we're going to keep talking after we take this next break. We might talk about some current stuff that's going on right there on the cultural corridor. So Chi-miigwech, Carrie, for joining us. This is Robert Lilligren. I'm filling in for Robert Pilot today.
Yes, and we're with Carrie Day Aspinwall. We'll be right back after this short break. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Stay with us.
As we pack away the ornaments and bid farewell to the holiday season, it's time to unwrap the gift that keeps on giving, getting protected by a COVID-19 vaccination. This is your chance to make a difference, especially as our Native communities face higher COVID numbers. Those higher numbers underscore the need for collective action. So answer the call and get vaccinated. The latest vaccines are not just authorized, but they're proven effective against the current variants. This is extra protection even if you've already had previous vaccines, since previous vaccines will eventually wear off. Plus, the new shots are FDA approved for ages 6 months and up. A COVID vaccine is not just a shot. It's a pledge to safeguard the wisdom and stories handed down by our elders. So join the movement, get vaccinated, and make 2024 the healthiest year ever, securing a brighter future for our Native community. For more information, including details about clinics offering free vaccines, visit vaccines.gov.
Hi, I'm Claudia with MinSure, Minnesota's official health insurance marketplace. With MinSure, you can compare health plans from multiple companies and get free help from a trusted expert. Whatever health plan you choose with MinSure, it's guaranteed to cover essential benefits, so you can get the care you need. See if you qualify for discounts, available only through MinSure. If you need quality, comprehensive health insurance, get started now at minsure.org.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh!
Good one, Robert.
Thanks. I didn't want to leave you hanging there, Haley. We should have prepped Carrie for that, so she would have known we were going to haul.
Appreciate it.
So, hello, my relatives. I'm Robert Lilligren. I'm the CEO of the Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI, and I'm here filling in for Robert Pilot, who is busy tonight. So, miigwech for having me, miigwech Haley for supporting us, and we're visiting now with Carrie Day Aspinwall, and she's been telling us some of the stories of how she got sort of established and started in her brilliant career, and I could talk for an hour about all the stuff that Carrie does on behalf of the community, but I want to get into some more conversation. But I will say this, And as someone who's had the privilege and honor to work directly with you so much, Carrie, that you're just this rare person who can really center her indigeneity, your native values, your native spirituality at the center of your work. And even if you're working within government or within these complicated sort of community projects or issues or rewriting constitutions, you just really keep your native identity front and center. And I'm always so impressed with that. Good work, Carrie.
Chimi Glage, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been quite a road. I mean, from little old gal, age 17. Well, I was never a little old gal, but 17-year-old get thrown into, under the direction of these very strong aunties was just amazing. What an opportunity.
Yeah.
I really appreciated each and every single one of them and loved them until the day they moved on to back to our Star Village.
And you took full advantage of their mentorship, their guidance.
Yeah.
Several of these aunties were excellent mentors and guides for me as well. Franny, Shirley Stone, you mentioned, and they could be pretty stern taskmasters.
No kidding.
Yeah. Especially
that's why I wrote everything down.
Sure. When I was on city council, if they didn't like a direction I was going or what they were hearing me say, they called me in and they set me straight.
Yep. That's right.
This is what you need to do.
I appreciate that of them. And
I appreciated it so much.
Well, and again, to get that kind of strong support help move both of us, into these spaces and places where we really didn't, we weren't welcome. And I guess I didn't feel like I belonged,
right.
But I was not going to let my ancestors down. I just wasn't going to do that, or my people, because I had to take the bus every day and go through the neighborhood every single day and watch my people suffer. And so again, that's where my strength comes from, and my desire to make things better for all of us, not just the ones who can, even get on the bus, but those that can't.
Right.
And
yep. And I think these elders like Franny Fairbanks and Shirley Stone, Marlene Hagamal, our Ho-Chek auntie, they really understood that by promoting people like you or me or the thousands of others that they helped mentor, they were amplifying their impact, right? Their impact, their way to benefit the community. And I just think that's such a good model, lifting each other up.
Where we're at today, look at what we've done to Franklin Avenue. Gosh, from a kid riding, I'm next to my dad, watching our people suffer to today, where we've got our agencies are lined up there ready to help our people, and again stand together, work together to create solutions to some of our most challenging problems.
Right. Well, and speaking of the most challenging problems, and I don't know if you were down on that cultural corridor today or down on Franklin, but there's a feeling there, right? There's kind of a sad day or a difficult day, a really large unsheltered encampment of our unsheltered relatives. It's called Camp Ninukazi, and that was dismantled today. And it's, these camps are occupations, right? They're very visible protests of the failed systems. This was almost exclusively Native residents, our relatives living outdoors on city property. It was a camp, I think at its highest, it was probably a little over 200 people. In this tiny little space, but they were dismantled. They'd already set up camp now 3 blocks away, down on 14th Avenue and 26th Street. So it's not like we're solving anything. We're just kind of moving on. But this camp that they dismantled today, Ninukazi, was really an attempt for Native people to care for relatives. They centered spirituality, a spirit fire ceremony, and there were issues around it, had really difficult impacts on the surrounding communities and things. But it's Native folks trying to care for each other.
Well, and that's what we're supposed to do. That's what being good relatives are all about. Yes, they are. I mean, again, if somebody presented themselves to any of our villages back historically, as long as you're good to the people that take you in, you contribute, and you commit to the good of the whole community, stay. Stay.
And, I mean, there's a common saying, we were never homeless before 1492.
Right.
And
right.
One of the projects, and maybe we could talk just a little about this, Carrie, because it was just profound. And it had a profound impact on me. I know it had a profound impact on you.
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, at about this time, there was an enormous encampment, really the first big encampment in Minneapolis. And it was on a little stretch of Minnesota Department of Transportation right away, on a highway entrance ramp, on this crappy little piece of property. There was some 200 tents, or maybe closer to 300 tents, 200 people living there outdoors. And it was a shocker. And it really, again, was an occupation. It was sort of a living protest. It was next to a very, very busy state highway and our light rail trains. And so tens of thousands of people a day went by this encampment, teepees up and saw this. And so for 5 minutes, they couldn't pretend it didn't really happen.
Right.
It's in your face, and you need to help us do something.
Yep.
And you and I had an excellent opportunity, and not I should say excellent, but incredible opportunity to engage the communities at the wall, and in a special project to directly engage. That was one of the benefits of having 200 people together at the same time, is you could engage with people, you could reach out to them, and you did an excellent job. So maybe you want to talk about that project a little, please.
Well, I my hats go off to your negotiation skills and your ability to bring capacity, like you said, to our community, the Bush Foundation, and how nimble they were in committing to helping us with this immediately, because it's 30 below now. It's going to snow now. And so we walked in, under this partnership, created programs, we fed everybody, we did culture, we brought medicine people in, we gave Indian names to both Dakota and Ojibwe people. There was 2 Dakota, Lakota medicine men, couple Ojibwe medicine people to help with people with ceremonies. They want their culture. They want to be good. And they just need some help and some direction. And I was looking at some of the clips today where it really is difficult for those who are trying to help to maintain that consistent relationship, which we know they need, that we need to stay connected to our relatives.
Right. Well, and your work was incredible there, and
thank you.
It was your spirit that led it, and we learned some incredible things, profound things, and like you said, what our relatives who are living unsheltered and maybe struggling with opioid use were looking for was this spiritual, cultural kind of healing. That was the keystone of what they were looking for. Then housing, then physical health, mental health, chemical health, but it was this culture and spirituality piece that they needed first and foremost, and that was a profound lesson for me to learn.
I love the opportunity that you gave, and I'm so happy that we were able to do what we did at that time.
Yeah, so Chi-miigwech for everything you do, Chi-miigwech for being here tonight, sharing. Well, we'll have to have you back sometime.
I need to tell you about what's going on now. It's even bigger.
Okay, can't wait. All right.
We look forward to it. Thank you both so much for coming on tonight. You've been listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. We are still here. We are the next generation. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and free Leonard Peltier. Now.